The Planet with No Night. A sci-fi story. Part 1. The light was wrong. Commander Rhea Sol stood at the base of the lander, boots half sunk in pale dust, staring at the shadow that shouldn't exist. It stretched razor-sharp across the ground, a perfect silhouette of her body, and yet the sun above her hadn't moved a millimeter since they'd broken atmosphere. "Commander!" Dr. Imani Cade called from behind her, voice tight. "You need to see this." Rhea didn't turn. She kept her eyes on the horizon. A horizon that shimmered with heat but never dimmed, never shifted, never softened. The sky was a perpetual white-gold blaze, as if noon had been frozen in place by some cosmic decree. "I see it," Rhea said. "Still no drift." "No drift," Imani confirmed. "And no rotation. At least none we can measure." Rhea exhaled slowly. Their ship, the Peregrine, sat behind her like a silver beetle, its hull gleaming under the relentless light. It cast a shadow too, a long, crisp one, but the angle of that shadow hadn't changed since landing. Not by a single degree. Lieutenant Arlen Voss jogged down the ramp, visor up, sweat already beading on his forehead. "Commander, atmospheric scans are stable. Temperatures holding at 34 Celsius. Radiation levels normal. But the sun hasn't moved," Rhea finished for him. Arlen swallowed. "Yes, ma'am." The planet, designated Helios 3, had been flagged as a potential colony site. Spectroscopy suggested breathable air, liquid water, and a stable climate. But the preliminary orbital scans had been odd. No axial tilt, no seasonal variation. And the strangest part, the planet's orbital path didn't match gravitational predictions. It should have been spiraling into its star. Instead, it hung there, perfectly still, held. Rhea finally turned to Imani. "Show me." The scientist lifted her wristpad, projecting a holographic model into the air. A glowing sphere, Helios 3, hovered between them, encircled by a stylized star. "This is the planet's position when we entered orbit," Imani said. "And this," she tapped a control, "is its position now." The model didn't change, not even by a fraction of a degree. "It's locked," Imani whispered. "Something is holding it in place." Rhea felt a chill despite the heat. A megastructure? Nothing detectable. No rings, no satellites, no energy signatures. It's just fixed. Arlen rubbed the back of his neck. "Commander, with respect, that's impossible." Rhea looked back at the sky. "Apparently not." The ground that never cools. They began their survey in a wide arc around the landing site. The terrain was deceptively simple. Rolling plains of pale, almost luminescent grass, clusters of crystalline rock formations that glittered like frozen lightning, and a distant ridge of mountains that shimmered in the heat haze. But the light made everything uncanny. Shadows were too sharp, colors too saturated. The air itself seemed to hum with a faint, constant brightness. Arlen crouched beside a patch of grass, running a scanner over it. Photosynthetic analog. High efficiency, probably adapted to constant solar exposure. "Any signs of stress?" Rhea asked. "None. It's thriving." Imani knelt beside a crystalline outcrop, touching it gently. "These structures are refracting light in a way I've never seen. It's like they're redirecting it." "Redirecting?" Rhea echoed. Imani nodded. "Not just reflecting, channeling. As if the planet's surface is designed to distribute light evenly." "Designed," Arlen said. Imani hesitated. "Or evolved. But either way, it's too perfect." Rhea scanned the horizon again. The sun, a white gold sphere, hung motionless in the sky. No corona flicker. No atmospheric distortion. No movement. "Commander," Arlen said quietly. "Do you hear that?" Rhea listened. At first, she heard nothing but the faint whisper of wind across the plains. Then beneath it, a low, rhythmic pulse, almost like a heartbeat. "What is that?" she murmured. Imani adjusted her wristpad. "Seismic activity? No, it's too regular." "Mechanical," Arlen suggested. "Possibly." Rhea straightened. Direction. Imani pointed toward the distant mountains. That way. Rhea nodded. We'll head there after we finish the perimeter. But even as she said it, she felt the weight of the unmoving sun pressing down on her. Planet that never rotated. A star that never shifted. A world held in place by an unknown force. And now a heartbeat. The ship that cast a shadow, until it didn't. They returned to the Peregrine after 3 hours of surveying. The ship gleamed under the relentless light, its hull almost too bright to look at. But something was wrong. Rhea saw it first. "Stop," she said sharply. Arlen froze mid-step. "Commander," Rhea pointed. The ship's shadow, the long, crisp silhouette that had stretched across the ground since landing, was gone. Imani's breath caught. "No!" Arlen blinked rapidly. That's not possible. It had a shadow when we left." Rhea approached slowly, heart pounding. The ground beneath the ship was bright, evenly lit, as if the light had simply decided to ignore the vessel entirely. "Commander," Imani whispered, "the ship is still blocking light. It should cast a shadow. But something is preventing it." Rhea circled the ship. No shadow. Not even a faint outline. "Is this localized?" she asked. "Or affecting us too?" Arlen stepped forward cautiously. His own shadow stretched behind him. Sharp, clear, perfectly normal. "It's just the ship," he said. Imani swallowed. "Commander, if the ship can't cast a shadow, it might not be able to generate thrust either." Rhea turned sharply. "Explain." "Shadow implies obstruction. Obstruction implies interaction. If the ship is no longer interacting with photons in a normal way, its engines might not interact with the environment either." "You're saying we might not be able to leave?" Imani didn't answer. Rhea tapped her comm Peregrine. "Status report." Silence. She tried again. "Peregrine, respond." Nothing. Arlen jogged up the ramp and slapped the manual panel. The hatch hissed open. He stepped inside and immediately stumbled back out. "Commander," he said, voice shaking, "you need to see this." Rhea entered the ship. The interior lights were on. The systems hummed. Everything looked normal, except for the cockpit. The forward viewport, normally a transparent pane showing the outside world, was pure white. Not opaque, not frosted, just white, as if the universe beyond had been erased. Rhea approached slowly. "What is this?" Arlen checked the controls. "Sensors are online. Cameras are online. But the feed is..." He tapped a display. "White." Every external camera showed the same blank whiteness. Imani entered behind them, breathless. "Commander, the ship is being isolated." "By what?" "I don't know. But it's as if the planet doesn't want it to leave." Rhea stared at the white viewport, her reflection faint in the glowing surface. "We're not trapped," she said firmly. "Not yet." But the words felt hollow. "The light that watches." They set up a temporary base outside the ship, using portable shelters that still cast normal shadows. The sun remained fixed overhead, its light unwavering. Rhea gathered the team. "Status," she said. Arlen spoke first. "Ship systems are functional, but navigation is blind. External sensors are being overridden by something. We can't see out. Engines. Engines respond, but without visual or sensor feedback, we can't risk firing them." Rhea nodded. "Imani." The scientist looked pale. "Commander, I've been analyzing the light. It's not just constant. It's structured." "Structured how?" Imani projected a waveform. "This is normal stellar radiation. And this," she overlaid a second pattern, "is what we're receiving." The second waveform was too perfect. Too smooth. Too regular. "This isn't natural," Imani said. "It's engineered." Arlen frowned. "Engineered by who?" Rhea looked at the sky. "Or by what?" Imani hesitated. "Commander, I think the light is observing us." Rhea turned sharply. "Explain." "The wavelength fluctuations correspond to our movements. When we approach the ship, the pattern changes. When we move away, it stabilizes. Arlen's eyes widened. You're saying the sun is watching us? No, Imani said. Not the sun. The light. Ria felt a chill again. What does it want? Imani shook her head. I don't know, but it's reacting to us. Ria looked toward the mountains. The faint heartbeat-like pulse still thrummed beneath the ground. Whatever is holding this planet in place, she said, isn't passive. Toward the pulse. They set out toward the mountains the next morning, though morning was meaningless here. The sun never moved. The light never changed. The pulse grew stronger as they approached the foothills. The ground vibrated faintly with each rhythmic thrum. Arlen scanned the terrain. Seismic readings increasing, but still too regular to be natural. Imani pointed ahead. There. A cave. The entrance was a jagged tear in the mountainside, crystalline rock shimmering around it like frozen lightning. The pulse emanated from within. Ria approached cautiously. Lights. They activated their suit lamps, though the cave was already illuminated by a soft, internal glow. The walls refracted light in shifting patterns, like a living kaleidoscope. Arlen swallowed. Commander, I don't think this cave is natural. Imani touched the wall. It's grown, like coral, but crystalline. Ria stepped deeper inside. The pulse grew louder, stronger, almost welcoming. The chamber of stillness. The tunnel opened into a vast chamber. The ceiling arched high above them, glittering with crystalline formations that pulsed in time with the heartbeat. In the center of the chamber stood a monolith. It was smooth, featureless, perfectly black, absorbing all light, unlike anything else on the planet, and it cast no shadow. Imani gasped, Commander, that's the same effect as the ship. Ria approached the monolith slowly. The air around it felt heavy, charged with static. Arlen scanned it. No readings. It's like it's not even there. Ria reached out a hand. Commander, wait. Her fingers brushed the surface. The world vanished. The memory of light. Ria stood in darkness. Then, a voice. Not spoken. Not heard. Felt. You have come to the still world. Ria tried to speak, but her voice didn't exist here. This world is held. Protected. Preserved. Images flooded her mind. A star collapsing. A planet drifting. A civilization reaching toward the sky. We held it. We saved it. Ria felt her breath catch. The planet wasn't orbiting its star because someone was holding it in place. The light is our touch, our watchfulness, our memory. Ria sensed sorrow, loneliness, a vast, ancient patience. You seek to leave. Ria tried to form the thought. Yes, you cannot. Not yet. Fear surged through her. The ship is not ready. The world is not ready. You are not ready. The darkness pulsed. Learn. Understand. Then you may go. The vision shattered. Ria collapsed to her knees in the chamber, gasping. Imani grabbed her shoulders. Commander, what happened? Ria looked up at the monolith. It spoke to me. Arlen paled. What did it say? Ria stood slowly. That we're not leaving. Part 2. Ria steadied herself against the crystalline wall, breath ragged. The chamber's glow pulsed in slow waves, as if the entire mountain were inhaling and exhaling around her. Imani's hands hovered near her shoulders, unsure whether to touch. Commander, what did it say? Ria swallowed hard. That this world is being held in place, protected, preserved, and that we're not allowed to leave until we understand why. Arlen stared at the monolith, jaw clenched. That's not acceptable. We have a mission. We have protocols. Ria met his eyes. Arlen, the thing spoke directly into my mind. It's not a matter of protocols anymore. Imani stepped closer to the monolith, scanning it again. Commander, whatever this is, it's ancient. Older than the planet. Older than the star. Ria frowned. How can you tell? Imani showed her the readings. The crystalline structures around it formed after the monolith was placed here. They grew around it like a shell. Arlen exhaled sharply. So it's been here for what? Millions of years. More, Imani whispered. Possibly billions. Rhea stared at the monolith. It remained perfectly black, perfectly still, perfectly wrong. We need to keep moving, she said. If this thing wants us to understand, then we start by exploring deeper. Arlen hesitated. Commander, what if it doesn't want us to go deeper? Rhea looked at him. Then it shouldn't have shown us the way. The descent. The chamber had 3 exits, narrow crystalline tunnels branching like veins. The pulse emanated strongest from the leftmost passage. Rhea pointed. That way. They moved cautiously, lamps cutting through the shifting glow. The walls refracted their light into prismatic patterns that danced across the floor. Arlen muttered, "Feels like walking inside a gemstone." Imani touched a crystalline ridge. These structures are channeling energy, not just light, something else. Something like what? Rhea asked. Imani hesitated. I don't know. But it's directed, purposeful. The tunnel sloped downward, the pulse growing louder. The air grew cooler, the light dimmer. Eventually, the tunnel opened into another chamber, smaller, more intimate. At its center floated a sphere of light. Not resting, not anchored, floating. Rhea approached slowly. What is that? Imani's voice trembled. A containment field, or a memory core, or something alive. Arlen scanned it. No readings. It's like the monolith. Rhea stepped closer. The sphere pulsed once and the chamber darkened. Then the world dissolved again. The builders. Rhea stood in a vast expanse of stars. Galaxies spiraled around her like luminous storms. Nebulae bloomed in impossible colors. A presence surrounded her. We were the builders. Images flickered, towering structures spanning solar systems, machines the size of moons, rivers of light flowing through artificial conduits. We shaped worlds. We guided stars. We held the fabric of space. Rhea felt awe, terror, wonder. This world was dying. The star was failing. Its people were lost. She saw a civilization, tall, luminous beings, reaching toward the sky as their sun dimmed. We saved them. We held their world in place. We gave them light. Rhea saw the planet suspended in space, unmoving, bathed in artificial radiance. But they are gone now. The luminous beings faded. Their cities crumbled. Their voices fell silent. We remain. We remember. Rhea felt the weight of eons pressing down on her. You have come. You seek to leave. But you must understand. The stars dimmed. The light is not a prison. It is a promise. The vision shattered. Rhea gasped, collapsing to her knees again. Imani knelt beside her. Commander, what did you see? Rhea looked up, eyes wide. The builders. They held this world in place to save a dying civilization. Arlen frowned. But that civilization is gone. Yes, Rhea said. And the builders stayed behind. Watching. Maintaining. Imani whispered. For how long? Long enough to forget time. The echoes of a lost people. They continued deeper into the mountain. The tunnels grew more structured, less natural, more architectural. Smooth surfaces replaced crystalline ridges. The pulse became a steady hum. Eventually, they reached a vast hall. It was unmistakably artificial. Columns of black stone rose from floor to ceiling. The walls were etched with intricate patterns, geometric, fractal, shifting subtly as they watched. Arlen whispered, "This is a city." Imani nodded. Or what's left of one. Rhea approached one of the walls. The patterns shifted under her gaze, forming symbols she didn't recognize. Imani scanned them. Language, or data, or both. Arlen walked to the center of the hall. Commander, look at this. A circular platform lay embedded in the floor. As Rhea stepped onto it, the hall darkened, and holographic figures appeared. Tall, luminous, graceful. The lost civilization. They moved silently, performing tasks, interacting with invisible interfaces, walking through the hall as if it were still alive. Rhea whispered, "Echoes." Imani nodded. "Memory imprints. Preserved by the builders." Arlen watched the figures. "What happened to them?" Rhea shook her head. "I don't know. But the builders stayed behind to keep their world alive." Imani frowned. "But why keep the planet in place if its people are gone?" Rhea looked at the holograms. "Maybe they hoped they'd return." Arlen exhaled. "Or maybe they didn't know how to stop." The core. The hall led to a final chamber, the largest yet. A cavernous space with a single structure at its center. A sphere the size of a house, suspended in midair by beams of refracted light. The pulse emanated from it. Imani gasped, "Commander, that's the planetary stabilizer." Arlen stared. "That thing is holding the planet in place?" "Yes," Imani said. "It's generating a gravitational counterforce, keeping the planet fixed relative to the star." Rhea approached the sphere. "Can we shut it down?" Imani hesitated. "Commander, if we do, the planet will fall into its natural orbit. Which means it will spiral into the star." Rhea froze. Arlen swore under his breath. "So we're stuck here." Rhea shook her head. "No, there has to be another way." Imani stepped closer to the sphere. "Commander, the builders didn't intend this to be permanent. The stabilizer is degrading. Slowly, but it's failing." Rhea's eyes widened. "How long?" "Centuries. Maybe less." Arlen exhaled. "So the planet will fall eventually?" "Yes," Imani said. "Unless someone intervenes." Rhea looked at the sphere. "Intervenes how?" Imani swallowed. "By repairing it, or shutting it down safely, or replacing it." Arlen stared at her. "We can't do any of that." "No," Imani said softly. "But the builders think we can learn." Rhea felt the weight of the monolith's words. "Learn. Understand. Then you may go." She looked at the sphere. "Imani," she said quietly, "can we interface with it?" Imani hesitated. "Maybe, but it could be dangerous." Rhea stepped forward. "We don't have a choice." The interface. Imani connected her wristpad to a crystalline conduit near the sphere. The chamber lights flickered. The pulse quickened. Arlen tensed. "Commander, this feels like a bad idea." Rhea didn't look away from the sphere. "Noted." Imani's pad displayed a cascade of symbols, the same fractal patterns from the hall. "It's communicating," she whispered. "It's trying to show us something." The symbols shifted, forming a diagram, a map of the stabilizer's internal structure. Imani's eyes widened. "Commander, this thing is alive." Arlen blinked. "Alive? Not biological, but sentient. A machine intelligence. The builders didn't just build it, they grew it." Rhea felt a chill. "What does it want?" Imani stared at the symbols. "It wants to know if we're worthy." Arlen swore. "Worthy of what?" Imani looked up. "Of inheriting the world." Rhea stepped back. "We're not here to inherit anything." The chamber darkened. The pulse stopped. Silence. Then, a voice filled the chamber. Not spoken. Not heard. Felt. "You have seen our memory. You have walked our halls. You have touched our light." Rhea's heart pounded. This world needs stewards. The builders are gone. The people are gone. Only the light remains. Rhea forced herself to speak. "We can't stay here. We have our own world." "Then learn. Understand. Take the knowledge with you." The sphere pulsed. "The light will release you when you are ready." The chamber brightened. The pulse resumed. Imani gasped. "Commander." "The ship." Rhea turned sharply. "What about it?" Imani pointed at her wristpad. "The interference is lifting. The ship's shadow. It's returning." Arlen's eyes widened. "We can leave." Rhea stared at the sphere. "No," she said quietly. "Not yet." The choice. They returned to the surface. The sun still hung motionless in the sky, but something had changed. The light felt softer, warmer, less oppressive. and the peregrine cast a shadow again. Arlen ran his hand along the hull. Systems are back online. External sensors are clear. We can take off. Imani looked at Rhea. Commander, what do we do? Rhea stared at the sky. The builders had saved a dying world. Preserved it. Held it in place for a people who never returned. Now the stabilizer was failing. And the builders were gone. Rhea exhaled slowly. We leave. Arlen blinked. We're just leaving? No, Rhea said. We're taking what we learned. We're bringing it back. We're telling the Union what's here. Imani nodded slowly. And maybe we can help. Rhea looked at the mountains. The pulse was faint now, almost gentle. The builders didn't trap us, she said. They tested us. Arlen frowned. Tested us for what? Rhea smiled faintly. For responsibility. The ascent. They boarded the Peregrine. The cockpit viewport was clear again, showing the bright, unchanging sky. Arlen powered the engines. Thrusters responding. Navigation online. Imani strapped in. Commander, are you sure about this? Rhea nodded. Yes. Arlen lifted the ship off the ground. The shadow beneath it shrank, then vanished as they rose. The mountains fell away. The plains stretched out like a pale ocean. The sun remained fixed, but the light no longer felt watchful, felt hopeful. As they broke through the atmosphere, the planet shrank behind them. A glowing sphere suspended in space, unmoving, bathed in eternal light. Imani whispered, "It's beautiful." Rhea stared at it. "It's waiting." Arlen set a course for home. Commander, what do we tell them? Rhea leaned back in her seat. The truth, she said, that we found a world held in place by ancient hands, that its guardians are gone, and that its future is now in ours. The ship accelerated into the void. Behind them, the planet with no night remained still, a silent testament to a civilization that refused to let its world die. And ahead of them, the stars waited. This is the end of the sci-fi story, The Planet with No Night. Leave a like if you enjoyed the story, and subscribe for more sci-fi stories. Thanks for listening.